Heard of the saying, we need fantasy to survive reality? Well, last year I was on Facebook, as you do, scrolling through newsfeed, and that saying popped up. We need fantasy to survive reality. And I don't know about everybody, but for me that's true. I love watching a good bit of, like what people would call a comfort show. So for me, that's Doctor Who. And I've been watching it for 20 years. God, I just recently got a magazine and it said it's been 20 years since Doctor Who came back. I I don't know where time goes. It's mad. So yeah, there I was back in 2005 and my dad said to me, "Whoa, there's this program that's coming back. I used to watch it and the classic era and it's coming back with Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper. I think you'll love it." So I took a bit getting used to. I mean, the first episode was I was a kid, so I was quite scared actually. Call me a wimp, but I remember the Autons, and the Autons were my first aliens in Doctor Who, which is mad, really, because you hear like a big name in Doctor Who, John Barrowman, when he came back in series one. Well, he made his debut in series one, The Empty Child, and you hear him in interviews, and John Barrowman always says that for what he remembers, his first experience with Doctor Who was the Autons. His was John Pertwee, mine was Christopher Eccleston. But it's good that you know connection. You Doctor Who is a Whovian. You've got a fandom. You've got a community with other fans, with the actors, with the actresses, with everybody involved in Doctor Who. So far, I have met quite a lot of people from Doctor Who. I've met, I don't know if you can see on the wall behind me, there's John Barrowman, along with me and my best friend Brennan. And so I met him last year at Comic Con Northeast, and I've got a lot of respect. He's true, he's a real motivator, John Barrowman, and I'm hoping to meet him again in London this year. And last year I got his autograph, so this year I'm hoping to get his I'm hoping to get last year. Sorry, I got his my photo taken with him. So this year I'm hoping to get his autograph. And I've also met, I don't know if you've seen any of my other videos, but I've also met Billy Piper. And I've told them all, my cousin and my best friend find it quite funny, because I tell them all, "Oh, you're my favourite." But no, John Barrowman, Billy Piper are my favourite, and David Tennant. Oh God, that would be a childhood dream to meet David Tennant and to get his autograph and to have my photo taken with him. But you know, I've also got Billy Piper's autograph. Now, I got that from Showmasters and a Christmas sale I had, which, oh God, I wish I'd got my autograph from Billy Piper in person, but there was such a great big long queue. So me and my friend, he was going home that day and I had things to do, so we couldn't wait in that queue. But if I was to meet her again, I would probably go over and get my autograph, take that, or get a new one, and talk to her more, because in when you go to a Comic Con, you meet them in the photo op, but you don't really have a lot of time because they've got more people they need to have their photo with, and so I've had a bit crack on, a bit banter with the likes of Millie Gibson, Billy Piper, Joanna Coleman, John Barrowman, um, Michelle Gomez, Alex Kingston in a photo op, but you get more time when you go to the table. For example, I had loads. I was very honoured. I had quite a good conversation with Millie Gibson last year because I went to a table at Comic Con London. Winter. She went to the Comic Con winter and went over to a table. But Ruby Sunday, fantastic, great. She's a great part of the new era of Doctor Who. I can't wait for Saturday because she's coming back on Saturday, and that's her story of what's happened to her since being with the Doctor. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that's going to be like. But you know, for me, I was a fan of Coronation Street, so I liked her as Kelly Nealon, and we had quite a bit. Oh, Kelly had quite the storyline, so I had a bit crack on about Kelly Nealon, and I said I loved her as in Doctor Who because I loved her in Coronation Street. But um, if you've seen my other videos, I have really talked a lot about this in other videos. But no, I'm here today to talk about an experience, a really good experience I had in earlier on this month. I don't know if you've ever heard of the 100. If you haven't, I would recommend watching it. 7 seasons, but they are the best. Now you hear, like, I live in the UK, so the 100's not really on our Netflix. I think it has been in the past, and I haven't seen, maybe it has been, added recently, but I watched it when it came out originally. It was on Channel 5, like a Channel 5, or Channel 4, or Channel 5 in the UK, and I watched it on there. But on April the 12th, I went to Paris for something called a Unity Conclave, where it was a Comic Con. It wasn't a Comic Con, but I'm referring to it as a Comic Con that was solely based on the 100. And there I met Eliza Taylor, Clark Griffin. Some people in the show called her One Header. If you've not seen the show, it explains why she's called One Header, so I won't spoil it for you. I met Marie Alfrebs, who plays Octavia Blake. Her other nickname in the show is Blood Rainer. They're not really nicknames, they get the title when they've done something. So she based her title off the Red Queen. And I met Harper McIntyre, who was played by Chelsea Waste. And I really liked Harper. She's really good character. She's she's a gunner, so she's always got a gun in her hand. She's part of the guard, and um, she's great. I really like when an episode in season 3, Demons, the beginning, she's bantering on with her mate, and then something happens to her mate, so she gets up and she was like, "Hey, this isn't funny anymore." And then this guy Emerson comes with a skull, sneaks up on her, kidnaps her, but then he kidnaps them all, and Clark's got to save them. And I had my photo of Tellus Tears, who plays Echo, one of the Grounders. And it was funny because in the Comic Con, that's really called the Unity Conclave, they all had to say something about someone on their neck, like beside them. And Eliza Taylor said, "Oh, I really like this character Echo because she seemed so sweet when she was in series 2, and there was a bit about her in season 3. But then she said, next thing I know, she's grabbed me off the ground with a knife to my throat," which is in season 4, episode 1, Echoes. And Anita Porter, who plays Indra. Now, Indra is always like a secondary character she's like the second to her commander, Lexa, who Eliza's character, Clark, meets and falls in love with. And then she's the second to Octavia. But Octavia was her, like, apprentice, and then Indra later serves Octavia. So Octavia was Indra's apprentice in season 2 and season 3, and then when Octavia became the Red Queen, they based it a little bit, in my opinion, they based it a little bit off Alice in Wonderland. I don't know if that was their intention, and just that name, the Red Queen. So yeah, Octavia, like Indra ends up serving Octavia. And Comic Cons are the best. Honestly, I would strongly recommend going to a Comic Con, but they are a little bit pricey. So I told Eliza Taylor, and it is the honest truth, that Clark Griffin is one of my all-time favorite TV characters. And if so, she was my main focus of meeting that day. I also got her autograph and Chelsea's autograph. Chelsea was really, really sweet when I went to the table. She gave me sweets and they seemed honoured. Like, they must have hundreds of fans who go to the table. And I got Millie Gibson's back in London and Sylvester McCoy's. And Sylvester McCoy was actually the first actor whose autograph I got. So it was funny, I went to Sylvester McCoy's table to get his autograph and he said, "Oh, who's it for?" But I didn't really realise they made it personal and they made it, they personalised it for the fans. So that's really nice of them. And I was like, "Oh, who, me? You want to know my name?" So I was like, "Oh, me." He was like, "Oh, nice to meet you, me." So my friend Brendan found that funny. But then I realised, oh, Matthew, I was just a bit nervous. You get so nervous, honestly. When I met Millie Gibson, who is one of my favourite actresses, I was so nervous. My lip kept trembling like, ooh, hello, nice to meet you. Which I think she thought was a bit weird. But anyway, back to the Unity Conclave. So they are pricey. So Bob Morley, who plays Bellamy Blake, one of the main characters in the show, I really, really wish I had my photo taken with him. But after all the others, I was a little bit skint. I was in Paris, never been to Paris before, so I wanted to see the Eiffel Tower, wanted to go to Notre Dame, I wanted to go. Me and my family didn't actually go in the Louvre because we were only there 2 days, and one of the days was at Comic Con, so I had things to do in Paris. But if I was to go to 100 Comic Con again, I would get it with Bellamy, Bob. I would get it with Chris, who plays Monty, and I would get it. Lindsay Morgan, who plays my favourite character, Raven Reyes, wasn't there because I think the actress is pregnant, so she wasn't there. Obviously, because it's a lot. It's a lot for the actors and actresses because they've literally got to be on their feet all day, and people come and have the photos taken with them. And my Comic Con last year in London, it was Millie Gibson's first one, and you can tell she was a little bit nervous, but she was so professional, so great, so lovely, so kind. But they get a little bit nervous. All these people like, "Hey, can I have my photo with you?" But the make we always find it quite funny because I think the actors and actresses make quite a bit of money from photos. So sometimes I've paid for my photo and loads of people have paid for the photo, and the next week I see the actresses and actors on holiday. I'm like, "Hey, I help pay for their holiday." But anyway, I went on the Saturday to the Unity Conclave, and Richard Hamlin, who plays one of my favourite characters, John Murphy, he actually came on the Sunday, so I just missed him. If I was to go back, I would. So I've done Clark, I've done Harper, I've done Octavia, those characters and the actors and actresses who play them. That Unity Conclave, which isn't a Comic Con, but it is to me like a Comic Con. And I would hopefully like to meet Maddie, Clark's daughter in the show, and Nyla, and Murphy, and Raven, and Bellamy. Properly, I would like to meet Bellamy properly at my next 100 event. But there's so many people who I would love to meet. So in the summer, I'm going to go to London and I'm going to meet Farida Seifu, who plays the new companion in Doctor Who, Belinda Chandra. And she's great. I'm loving series 2 so far. And I'm going to have my photo taken with her. And I'm also a big fan of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., although I haven't really seen season 7. And I I think sometimes in a show, if a character's gonna die a good death, they should stay dead. Like when Nick Coulson died in Agents of Shield, he should have stayed dead after season 5. Nope, they brought him back. They made him evil. They then made him good, which to me that ruined his character when he had had a good send off already in Marvel The Avengers. And what confuses me a little bit is Agents of Shield, which it should be, and I can't wait for them to interact with MCU characters because everybody's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now. Heck, they've got um, Patrick Stewart, Professor X in Doomsday. They've got everybody, so they've merged all the characters. So if Agents of Shield was in the Marvel before, it will be in Marvel. But anyway, this Comic Con in the summer, Nick Blood, my favorite characters. He played Lance Hunter, but he was in love with a girl called Bobby Morse. I would love to meet them. My dad's a big fan of The Oval. It's a series that the character who plays Bobby is the main actress in, and I would love to watch that. And I'm also going to go for the Love of Fantasy event in London where I'm going to meet Danielle Rose Russell, who plays the legendary Hope Michelson, daughter of Klaus, and Haley, and her best friend Lizzie Saltzman, played by Jenny Boyd. And I'm hoping I've got a couple of things coming up, but I think I'll be mad if I don't get my photo with Danielle Gills, who plays Elijah Michelson, and so that's in the summer. And back to what I was saying earlier on in the video, I feel you need fantasy to survive reality, which is why if you write fan fiction, do. I've been writing a story about a girl called Lily Kettle. I don't know if you've watched The Dumping Ground, but I don't own the rights to the character. It's just for fun, and I would never, the actress who plays her, Jessie Williams, she's been in a couple of things over the years. She's reprised her role as Lily Kettle a couple of times, but I have been writing about Lily for 12 years, and my version of Lily is very different to what she is portrayed in the later seasons of The Dumping Ground. In The Dumping Ground, she is a manager of a few cafes, she's got her own business, she's built up quite a, business selling cakes and own in cafes. In my story, she's a superhero. She saves the world. Her and her daughter Bridget and Carmen, who played Lily, who was Lily's best friend at the dumping ground, becomes an enemy because Lily left the dumping ground and she didn't keep in touch in my story. So Carmen grew jealous of Lily having all these adventures. She was, sort of like Lily's boyfriend in my stories, Ryan Robertson, sort of like became an enemy, and he convinced Carmen to also turn against Lily. So Lily battled Carmen and Ryan for years. They fought on these battles like planets called Waterloo, and my stories are like a fan fiction, a crossover of everything. So Emma Swan, Once Upon a Time, appears in them. The Doctor appears in them. The Doctor once made Lily a Time Lord. And so, yeah, I reckon my stories are like a soap opera because they've been going on so long. And it's like the never ending story. I never want my stories to end. And so recently I've had a character in my stories called a killer sinner who doesn't stop sinning, and every time she sins something bad happens to the person she's dealing with. So she is sort of sinning because it's all multiversal, so she's sinning a world to death at the moment. And I want to talk more about my stories in future videos, but I don't own the rights to the characters. I just write them for fun. But if you are a fan of anything, also do your own take on it. Because I see people who do have their own take on certain characters and stuff, and it's great. It's great to have your own world built up in your head. And I know Russell T Davies, he's a big encourager when you hear them in videos of, you've got to have your world, you've got to have your fan fiction, you've got to have your ideas. I can't wait for Marvel Avengers Doomsday next year. I'm a big fan of the MCU. I'm currently reading this book, which is sort of like behind the scenes of Marvel. I am also, I collect the Doctor Who magazine every month. I also am reading this book at the moment about the Watcher dying. Now, if you don't want to know what the Watcher is, watch the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy post-credit scene, where it explains that Stan Lee is the character he played up until he died was actually a Watcher because he was appearing all over the place. And watch Marvel's What If because they've got a Watcher on there, and the Watchers see all. So he's currently been killed in that story I'm reading, and it's just reading on from what happens there. I'm also a big fan of Spider-Man, so I'm starting to explore the Spider-Woman, who's actually called Spider-Gwen. And I've recently started to collect these Marvel books, which, this is Hawkeye. It's recently been my birthday, so I got that with my birthday money. And I've got a Thor one. And now, I think if you are still watching this video, you've earned a right to see the collection. There it is. Now, I started collecting these back in 2018, and the two recent ones are Captain Carter and Spider-Woman, Spider-Gwen, who I got for my birthday. I'm a big fan of Once Upon a Time, so there's Robin Hood and Captain Hook. Han Solo. Han Solo is my favourite Star Wars character. There he is in his Empire Strikes Back costume. Before we get to this, Frozen and Carbonite. There's the Emperor. The Emperor's throne. Emperor Palpatine was actually my most expensive collectible. I got him and his guards for £200. There's the woman from Doctor Who. Imagine what this story would be like. All of these, girl power. Amy Pond, Ruby Sunday, Rose Tyler, Clara Oswald, Yasmin Khan, Romana, Joe Grant, Perry, Ace, Donna Noble, Bill Potts, Missy, River Song, Sarah Jane Smith, all teaming up. I'm sure there is. Somebody has probably written a fan fiction about that somewhere. The Red Hulk, he's new this year. Got these two for my birthday, Professor X and Magneto. I'm starting to, collect things that characters who have been confirmed to be in Doomsday, like Shang-Chi, Ant-Man, Bucky Barnes, the Red Guardian, Sam Wilson. There's Deadpool. He's funny, isn't he? There's Thor. And Baku. He's going to be in Doomsday. Hawkeye. And there's the Scarlet Witch. I'm a bit worried because they say she's not going to be in Doomsday, but she's a big part of Marvel. Kate Bishop, I like her. And these are, that's Dr. Jennifer Keller from Stargate Atlantis. Don't know if you've seen it. If you haven't, I would recommend it. There's Emma Swan. There's Hermione Granger from Harry Potter. 11. And show you briefly in here my DVDs. And there's the wall. So yeah, you have just spent the last 24 minutes listening to a nerd talk. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you like it, I will make more videos. There's the Doctor Who collection. I like Shooty. He's a good doctor. It's only a matter of time till they release the Belinda Chandra figure. And there's all the doctors. Well, until the next time.